Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today I would like to tell you the tale of a criminal gang initiating a very elaborate heist which involved breaking into a building and then using that building to tunnel into the second building in order to pull off a feat that is quite impressive. I also want to tell you about how the police thwarted that threat, how they were able to discover the crime, discover the perpetrators, make arrests, and how this was a good day where smart criminals with a plan, were brought down by law enforcement. But unfortunately, I can't tell you that story. Unfortunately, today we have a story of all of that happening, those criminals being illegal migrants that should have never been in this country in the first place, and of course, New York State bail reform law releasing them automatically, because you know what? Elaborate heists damaging property of two businesses, no big deal if you're an illegal immigrant in the United States of America. In fact, we feel so bad for you because you're in such desperate need defrauding our asylum system that we probably should give you an automatic release and maybe even a check, maybe some taxpayer dollars. And before you say that these people voted for this, therefore they deserve it, I will remind you that this occurred in Long Island in Nassau County, which voted for Lee Zeldin, the legend of Zeldin, for governor, and voted for the evil orange man this past presidential election, aka Donald Trump. So shut your face. We're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Well, it is an attempted jewelry heist straight out of a movie. 6 people used torches to cut a hole through the roof of a flower shop in Nassau County. Once inside, they broke through the wall into a jewelry store next door.
Now look, I just want to say, obviously, here on the Actual Justice Warrior, I do not support crimes. I do not support criminals or anything of the sort. That being said, an elaborate heist is cool. There's a reason why they're in movies. There's a reason why that's a compelling genre to revisit over and over and over again. So at least in this regard, we have an interesting crime to talk about. So in this particular incident, you had 5 Chilean migrants and a Venezuelan break into a place called Florique, which is on Jericho Turnpike in Woodbury, Long Island. Now they were trying to get into a place called Elegant Jewelers, but essentially after they were able to successfully carve a hole between the adjoining wall between the two businesses, they ended up getting tripped up when they tried to break into the safe and they set off an alarm. We actually ended up discovering they were driving a Durango and renting an Airbnb in order to commit this crime. So this is in fact an example of crime tourism from foreign nationals, and these are the kind of people that you would like to hold pre-trial in order to make sure that justice is served. But of course, that didn't happen because we have bail reform, and why should we be concerned about holding criminals accountable when we should be respecting the rights of those criminals who come into our country, break our laws, disrespect us, and destroy 2 businesses just because they wanted something? They're innocent angel Bebe Aladdins, and we need to respect them because they were going to give that jewelry to their starving families in order for them to eat.
Police say 5 of those suspects are once again on the run again.
Well, Liz, they had no reason not to run, and the judge in this case had no authority to hold them, so they simply cut off their ankle monitors. It's the kind of frustrating case about bail reform and makes opponents of bail reform livid. And given the outcome of last week's presidential election, they were eager to talk about it.
It's a damn disgrace.
The Nassau County executive mincing no words about bail reform today, nor did his partners in law enforcement.
And I'm sick of it. We need a change in these laws. Give the judges back their discretion. Let us do our job.
Now, the local news pitches this as anger that follows up the presidential election of Donald J. Trump. But the fact of the matter is, this kind of anger has been building up for a long time. And by the way, it is one of the main reasons why Nassau County, along with Suffolk County, has gone red. And by the way, the congressional representatives are also Republicans. It was Lee Zeldin's stellar campaign that ended up turning the tide, but that momentum was carried by the evil orange man. And a bunch of these different positions are held by Republicans. But the fact of the matter is, it's not about the presidential election. It's about statewide bail reform law that basically makes it impossible for these people to do their jobs. You see how pissed the district attorney is right there. But guess what? She still can't hold these people. They're still guaranteed a same-day automatic release due to the fact that we have this stupid-ass bail reform law that Governor Kathy Hochul doesn't want to change. And by the way, the thing that she did post-election was that she decided that she was going to institute the congestion price pricing that she paused for political reasons in the lead up to the election. So when it comes to taxing and robbing you for day-to-day things like driving in the city of New York, they're all for it, but doing something about the criminals, stopping them from destroying your businesses, breaking up foreign nationals in a heist, no interest in that. Same day automatic release. Maybe you'll get an ankle monitor. Please don't cut it off, because there's no consequences if you were to do that.
It's regarding an attempted burglary at this high-end shopping center on Jericho Turnpike here in Woodbury last Thursday, and the expensive and time-consuming bust of a sophisticated Chilean theft ring.
And once again, because of these asinine laws, these people are back on the street.
Cops say the alleged thieves were all in the country illegally from South America, all flagged as potential threats by Homeland Security.
So a couple of things that I find to be incredibly notable. First and foremost, even though they said a Chilean crime ring, I do want to point out that according to the New York Post, all but one are Chilean, the other one is Venezuelan, but as you heard, they're all illegal migrants. They were all flagged by Homeland Security as dangers, but they were let in anyway because, you know, that's who we are according to President Biden and border czar Kamala Harris.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
And they were all arrested in a very time-consuming investigation and bust for destroying these two businesses in order to rob a business. And guess what? They still get released automatically same day, despite the fact that there are all those red flags. You can't even hold them under a detainer so that ICE can grab them in order to deport them. That is the stupid country that we live in, with sanctuary cities, but in this case, a sanctuary state that is New York State that also bends over backwards in order to cater to the criminals. We're so inefficient in dealing with these crimes. We have no judgment for judges that criminals will come from across the world in order to commit crimes in New York State because they know they will be protected by the Democratic Party in the state of New York.
Police say they used power tools to make this hole in the roof of a floral shop, then more tools and torches with flammable gases to power through the wall to Elegant Jewelers, which sits next door. Police say they didn't stop there, that they used radio jammers to hide the alarm system.
So I want you guys to take note of the level of destruction that was committed by these foreigners who shouldn't be in this country in the first place to these businesses. And you guys might say, you know what, jewelry store, high markups, I'm sure they're extraordinarily profitable, as if they don't also have to pay rent in this high-end strip mall, as if, again, we don't have competition from the internet. And maybe you believe the same is true of the flower shop, again, in this nicer shopping center. But the fact of the matter is, you shouldn't have to tolerate this as an American citizen running a normal business from foreigners and then have the system cater to them rather than you. And this is going to be paid for either by these shop owners, by the landlord who rents out this space, by the insurance company, which will result in higher insurance premiums, which will be passed down to the consumer or result in these businesses shutting down.
Police say they didn't stop there, that they used radio jammers to hide the alarm system.
But at the end of that particular portion of the video, they talked about them using radio jammers in order to shut off the alarm, which gives you the idea that these are sophisticated criminals. And the reason I wanted you guys to take a minute to think about that is we're going to get reaction to that, and I think this reaction is definitely warranted because radio jammers do much more than jam the radio alarm system that a business might have.
How dangerous is that if somebody's calling for an emergency or another cop calling for an emergency and his radio doesn't work because these thugs are inside trying to jam the radio so we don't get the alarm?
So right there you hear the anger from the Nassau County Police Chief, and honestly that anger is warranted because what if one of these people had a gun? And by the way, we don't know if they had a gun because they were not captured until the next day. They could have ditched that weapon and fired upon a police officer. The officer was wounded, probably could survive it, ends up trying to go for a radio call, but they're jamming the radio. What if you had another emergency situation nearby? But again, the jammer was impacting that. You have all these different problems, and again, a level of sophistication and a level of danger that you're adding to this situation via just the radio jammers that I think is very crucial for people to understand, because these people were just let go because of bail reform, despite all the things that I just told you.
They were busted here in Huntington the next day in the most unlikely neighborhood, a nice home they were renting here on Lake Road. But because their Class D felonies weren't bailable offenses,
all of them were asked and told to go down to get a device that's called a tracking device, GPS device that goes on your ankle.
Only 3 showed up to get their monitors, and hours later they cut them off somewhere in New Jersey.
Highlighting a case that explains why issues such as the border and crime became front and center in the presidential campaign.
So in this particular instance, you have a population that voted in a certain direction, you have a police department, a prosecutor, and a representative that covers this whole area that are on the right side of these issues, but they're completely helpless due to the fact that we have statewide bail reform law and the Democrats won't do anything in order to nerf that. But there were so many dumb things that were said that are part of the procedure in the state of New York, it defies all logic. So first and foremost, these people being released without bail when, again, they're criminal migrants who are part of a sophisticated burglary operation, already right there, stupid, insane, asinine, ridiculous in every way. Secondly, they were given ankle monitors, and it's hard to even say that that is actually true because they were basically just asked to go to a place to get ankle monitors on a voluntary basis, and only 3 of them ended up showing up. So right off the top, those 3 individuals are dumber than the other people in the crew because apparently they could tell you to put on an ankle monitor as a condition of you being released automatically without bail, but you don't even have to show up to that appointment because they won't even hold you in custody long enough for you to be fitted for said ankle monitor. Again, just an asinine idea. But then, to make matters worse, they end up escaping the state to the state of New Jersey, which again, you shouldn't be able to do if you have an ankle monitor that is supposed to make sure you're not fleeing, you're not leaving the state, but that was able to happen. They were able to get all the way to Jersey, and then they cut the ankle monitors off. So these people are totally in the wind. These criminals who are tracked down, caught, meant to be held accountable, arrested, charged, all of that, nothing you could do because unlike 49 other states in our union, judges don't have judgment. And to make things even more absurd, this fleeing, the bail jumping, and all that, if they are eventually caught, that will also not necessarily mean that they will be held in custody due to how insane the bail law is in New York State. In fact, one of the likely consequences of this are if they're rearrested, then extradited to New York, they will be fitted for ankle monitors again, which means they will be out again.
All of them were asked and told to go down to get a device that's called a tracking device, GPS device that goes on your ankle.
Only 3 showed up to get their monitors, and hours later they cut them off somewhere in New Jersey.
Every single component of that sentence, which was spoken by very frustrated local officials out in Nassau County, is even more crazy than the previous one. They described it as asinine, and I 100% agree. But this is the issues. These are the problems that we're facing. This is one of the major reasons why we had such a rightward shift in this past election, a shift towards the evil orange man, because this is somebody who's actually promising to hold migrant criminals accountable, which apparently is disgusting and rude, and we should just tolerate their levels of crime in the United States of America.
Here on Long Island, the concerns for many residents who live right near where last week's crime occurred.
If they break in here, they can come and break into my house.
So they bring up the Trump thing, and then they interview somebody who's a homeowner that lives in and around this area, and she says, well, if they can break in here, they can break into her house. But the thing that she's missing in this whole scenario is, while that is definitely 100% true, the thing that she should actually be concerned about is if New York is going to cater to them after they break into 2 businesses over here, they're also going to do the same thing if they break into her house, because that's how crazy our bail system is. And again, these were illegal migrants flagged by Homeland Security. Even if you can't detain them for the crime due to the dumbass bail reform law, you think it would be a good idea to turn them over to ICE to get them deported? I definitely do, but you can't have that in the state of New York because that would be evil white racism. Instead, let these people run amok, let these people tear up communities, let these people escape custody, even though we all know that they were a danger, they were flagged by Homeland Security as a danger. We can't do anything about that because that would be racist if we did. Absurd.
Now, the judge in this case did have the authority to order one of the 6 suspects held. That's because he had an outstanding warrant in Pennsylvania. But once again, the other 5 right now still on the lam in a case that the Nassau County executive says cost this county hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so right there, you end up finding out that one of these 6 people was held on a previous warrant. The judge didn't have the authority to do it in those other cases, but it was exercised in this particular case. And wouldn't you know it, the person that they held in custody is still in custody. The person that they held in custody did not flee the state. Isn't that amazing how that works, guys? When you actually can hold criminals accountable, they end up getting held accountable. But you know what? That's just my crazy idea of how the law should work. It happens to be logical, sensible, and reasonable, but I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the wild nature of New York State bail reform law. Till next time.